Tonight on Cheap Seats.
Oh, baby! Oh, baby! The professor! On the next prison ball. Yeah, she is perfect. Oh, she just landed on her cell phone.
Light bulb in the middle pocket.
Or the side pocket, as it's also known by everyone in the world who plays pool. Attica! Attica! Attica!
This is Mark Stegermeyer. He's 20 years old.
What are the odds that his frat name was the Stagermeister? Tell you what, a few more shots of Stager and this thing starts to make a whole lot more sense. Hey, welcome to another episode of Cheap Seats. Today we're going to be dealing with gimmicks. Now, gimmicks have long been a cornerstone of American culture. From Ryan Seacrest to Vanilla Coke to the Amish. These whimsical experiments are what make us better than the Russians. But in the sports world, it's a different story. The gimmick version of the regular sport often threatens the credibility of that sport, thereby making us weaker than the Russians. Today we'll be taking a look at three gimmick sports: the Harlem Globetrotters, hot dog skiing, and trick shot billiards, to try and determine once and for all whether or not we are in fact better than the Russians. First up, it's the Globetrotters. Now, this lighthearted exhibition is taking place at Attica in 1976. That's right, the prison where less than 5 years earlier, one of the worst riots in prison history took place. So while you're watching, remember that every scrap of confetti had to go through maximum security.
A continuing saga of the legendary Harlem Globetrotters today.
Continuing saga? Yeah, the plight of the Kurdish people is a continuing saga. Theirs is more of a Saturday morning cartoon.
A bucket full of water.
Cosell getting all Spike Lee on Shetland Danny Aiello.
Failing to control the competitors, and
I totally forgot what a great actor Cosell was.
a showdown with the very trotter.
Someone needs to tell Howard that when you're pretending to be angry, you might want to put the smile on the back burner.
72 a year later at
Ah, yes, Wembley Stadium, because the Brits love their basketball.
the clown prince of basketball with an
He
extraordinary
didn't call glass.
shot making. A year later, Landover, Maryland, and a secret opponent. A secret
Mongo? No, Webster's dad.
The occasion, the 12,000th game ever played.
Okay, could Alex Karras be more out of shape? Nice throw. He was a defensive tackle. Doesn't matter. Mam's still gonna kill George for ruining Webster's birthday cake.
Trotters will eat anything, and so will Alex. What a group, these Trotters. They've played all over the world, as you know.
Meadowlark's been with the Globetrotters since 1954? Yep, and he signed a 50-year contract so he can finally be a free agent this season.
Two things to remember about the Globetrotters.
They're old and fake.
Clowning, they're exceptional basketball players, good enough to have once beaten the then Minneapolis Lakers. When the
And with
Lakers-
Shaq gone, a lot of teams will be saying that.
The second thing is, that's the way to go, Meadow. The score of the
I love how the Nationals look surprised by this. What's going on here? Are we going to play ball or what?
these remarkable men, as you see.
What's the over-under on how many times somebody spins the ball on their finger and no one tries to steal it? I think it's 34 and a half. Give me a dime on the over.
Gunshot. He's from PS 129 in Boys Eye, Brooklyn, went on to Virginia.
In a game where the score doesn't matter, a medium-range jumper is maybe not the most interesting shot to take.
Major college teams, that was easy.
Talk about padding your stats. People gave Bobby Sura a hard time. I think any Globetrotter that doesn't get a triple-double should be immediately cut from the team.
Smith, the school from whence came Elijah Pitt.
We got ourselves a ball game, Trotters. Wake up, let's start playing some D.
36, of course, the Meadow. Nice.
I'm no coach, but when a 54-year-old guy's making a layup, maybe it's time to switch to a zone.
Against the Harlem Globetrotters. And watch that. That's John Bryant, an inmate at Attica as his...
An inmate just scored. What, did they run out of uniforms?
good basketball player.
He does know he has to go back to his cell after the game, right? Mocking the inmates. Always a safe choice. Okay, Meadowlark is definitely going to get shivved. If you watch the Globetrotters in any era, one thing becomes crystal clear. They're constantly updating their material.
Look out! Ready to unload that water, which he does. Look out!
Coming up on Cheap Seats.
I feel like the Globetrotters outfit is just a few pins and a pair of suspenders away from being a TGI Fridays uniform.
The guards and all.
That would make getting a big man in the NBA a lot easier. Just draft 2 small forwards and stack them.
Welcome, Cheap Seats viewers. Brian Kenny here at the ESPN News Desk with some breaking news. The Washington Generals, longtime opponents of the Harlem Globetrotters, have just named Jerome Block as their new head coach. We have some footage from the historic press conference that took place just moments ago.
From what I understand, I guess the record's like 0 and well over 700. But, you know, I think that's misleading. You know, they've got some tricks. They've got the confetti / water bucket thing, which I haven't seen at other games. I don't know if that's fair or illegal or I find hostile. The Trotters now have that chick on the team who I would like genetic testing on. My background is not purely basketball. In fact, my background is I'm a dentist. I run a successful dental practice in New Rochelle. I haven't technically played the game or been to a game or touched a ball. But I think that what I have is an ability. All right, well, I've seen the movie Hoosiers. Where do I see the Generals in a year? Well, I think we have to be realistic, but I'm not ruling out a trip to the World Series.
Well, there you have it. New coach, maybe a new era. All right, let's take it back to Gimmick Sports on Cheap Seats, already in progress.
Well, we're about ready to resume action with Geese Osby having a little fun now.
Way to guard, man. Quick, let's make a break. Geese has got the guards distracted.
What that inmate just
I feel like the Globetrotters outfit is just a few pins and a pair of suspenders away from being a TGI Fridays uniform.
Attic is still adequate. Well, Geese Osby.
I'm not sure a fake fight is such a good idea in front of a bunch of guys who break up scuffles with tasers.
Where is Osby going?
Anywhere he wants. He's a free man.
Of water. Somehow,
If they're scared of a bucket of water, I have a feeling an offensive rebound might be out of the question.
There it goes! A bucket of water all
He
over.
seems to be taking it well. No hostility there.
And the inmates are loving every second of it.
Attica! Attica! Attica!
For the inmates. And you can see the smile coming across the
Look at how scared these guards are of a bucket of water. They're like the Wicked Witch of the West.
paper flying all over the inmates. Nobody gets away unscathed.
Ah, yes, the ever-scathing confetti shower.
Nobody. Yes, they've identified him as Bill Barnes.
Where? In an autopsy report? Check out Geese's profile. This guy's thinner than Laura Flynn Boyle on Yom Kippur.
That's a great scene, isn't it?
I still work in a prison. All right, freeze it. Look at this guy in the white t-shirt and the glasses. I just got finished reading his manifesto. How was it? Not that funny.
Back to the action. Marcus Haynes, number 20, dribbling.
He's really got to be more aware of the shot clock. And that's 5 seconds. You know what Dean Smith could have done with a guy like this when he was running the four corners? Oh, baby! Oh, baby! The professor! On the next prison ball. Nice dunk. Too bad you were in the lane for like 15 minutes. Still, the Globetrotters are totally dominating the points in the paint.
Kind John Bryant, what a great evening.
Of course you've had a great evening, Howard, because you get to go home.
Trotters, and thanks to others too, like Superintendent Smith. I don't believe that.
Congratulations, Meadowlark Lemon. You've just won a 1972 Chrysler LeBaron, compliments of Ken Carson Chrysler.
Award to the American Bar Association for their incredible footage on the Attica uprising, and to all of the guards and all of the inmates.
That would make getting a big man in the NBA a lot easier. Just draft 2 small forwards and stack them.
Dunk on the shoulder.
And now that the game's over, the inmates can go back to trying to get revenge on Ray Tango and Gabriel Cash. Well, that was fun until the deep level of sadness set in. But don't get too down, Rand, because when we come back, we'll switch gears and head out to Utah for some hot dog skiing.
Coming up on Cheap Seats.
Frank trying to close a segment, and skiing Wilfred Brimley won't let him. We won't grow old, and we won't ever die.
Just feel great.
Do you think he eats his mustache-sicles? Hey, welcome back to Cheap Seats. Now, hot dog skiing has long been a hobby of lazy trustafarians everywhere. It also provides a perfect competition if you ever have to save a ski lodge from a big corporation that's trying to take it away from its mom-and-pop owners. Well, let's head back to 1974 and out to Park City, Utah for the precursor to the X Games. Hot diggity dog, it's Gimmick skiing.
Okay, this is 19-year-old Genia Fuller from Farmington, Massachusetts, competing even with the
Genia, she is perfect. Oh, she just landed on her cell phone. One small step for man, one giantly awkward sideways spill for woman.
Up on her skis and everything is fine.
Except for the fact that she can now never have kids.
She doesn't really get the momentum from the takeoff, not the altitude that she needs to perform perfectly, and she has trouble in the landing, as we can see here.
We knew she had trouble in the landing without the replay, Chief.
Genia Fuller is all right, although she is disqualified from the aerial competition.
Disqualified? Do you really need to disqualify her? Don't you think she was going to lose anyway?
This is Mark Stegemeyer. He's 20.
What are the odds that his frat name was the Stagermeister? Tell you what, a few more shots of Stager and this thing starts to make a whole lot more sense.
Job by Mark.
Impressive. Unless, of course, you're Ozzie Smith.
Energy and excitement. You
Autocross Championships, also known as Talladega Superspeedway.
spots of Park City.
And oddly enough, she's the only one at the prom dancing in skis. Looks like this skier fell into a whole different kind of white powder tonight. Wait till Lotus sees us. He loves us. Oh, BTO, how far you've fallen. Is that your mood ring? It's Moody's mood ring now. I'm up, I'm down, and I'm up, and I'm down again. You can't stop me, fool. They may not be that impressive at skiing, but they sure can't dance either. Oh, I get it. They're saying skiing and dancing are the same activity. Sure, except very few people fracture their skulls dancing at a Holiday Inn nightclub. This all feels like the setup for a bad 70s horror movie. Blood Mountain. When the skiers get down, they get dead. Okay, That was weird, annoying, and superfluous, and also unnecessary. I know, it's like, who do they think they are, wasting our time showing us these clowns dancing around with their heavy-handed metaphors? Yeah, I feel like they're just trying to fill time. I know!
Now is Roger Evans, top of the run. He's one of the favorites. He's 26 years
And even on the slopes, the kid stays in the picture. You bet your sweet Aspen he does.
21 points or better.
And it's a backward somersault with a full twist and a perfect landing.
That was a perfect landing? If Delta landed a plane I was on like that, I'd sue. These guys wouldn't even be allowed to park cars at the Winter X Games.
Full twist, high up in the air, plenty of time for execution, and a perfect landing.
And Roger Evans.
That's a 46 on his first attempt. You can subtract. Here's a nickel. Woohoo!
Fairbanks, Alaska. In second place was Bob Salerno, Mark Stecker.
You going to that slow motion dance party tonight, dude? After that perfect landing, you bet, man.
If you've never seen it, you won't believe it. And
Filmed earlier? Isn't that redundant?
This is Mike Lund, perhaps the oldest of the freestylers. He's 37 years old.
Perhaps the oldest? He either is or isn't. Perhaps the laziest researchers ever.
And what do the judges look for?
Better jobs? And what do the viewers look for? The remote?
And they also look for 6 different maneuvers in every run.
Now, if they made this thing a biathlon and put targets on the dancers, then I'm interested.
Frank, I find the ballet on skis one of the most fascinating events that I've ever seen. And when it is done well, it is really a beautiful thing to watch, I think.
And when done poorly, it looks a lot like this.
One of the finest runs that we saw.
I have reason to believe that this segment did not make it into the Wide World 20th Anniversary Special.
I tell you, it's the greatest feeling I ever had.
I didn't know Craig Stadler could ski. And the Walrus is really bulked down for this, too.
Competition, and I've never felt any better. I've had the runs all together. I think what...
Did he just say he had the runs? He shouldn't have had that General Tso's chicken.
Didn't have hardly any. I may have a slight falter here and there, but my runs were all...
Do you think he eats his mustache-sicles?
Danny, congratulations.
Thank you, Frank.
I know you're thrilled about it. And,
Frank trying to close the segment.
Feeling, greatest feeling. It's so... the feeling...
And skiing Wilfred Brimley won't let him. We won't grow old, and we won't ever die.
That's what it's freestyle skiing and ballet skiing is all about, just to feel so good, to make you feel good.
I'm still not ready for...
I can see Redford and the cast of Project Greenlight.
He's from Tacoma, Washington. He's looking down over the course. 1,000 feet of deep moguls, and here is Jim Stallings.
Ooh,
Really starting
knees.
off rough.
Ah! Don't fall.
Jim is a fine technician, Frank. He really knows...
Feeling,
what
spine,
skis are for. He
compress.
controls the speed usually.
Ow. Knees.
Really, he got
Losing
a penalty for that fall.
spinal
Just touched
fluid.
the but didn't lose the rhythm of his run, and he's still aggressive, so he will get a 3-point penalty for that fall,
Ow.
Frank.
Knees. Hurt.
Continue the
That
run. And Stein, what has
isn't
impressed
fun.
me is the fatigue that must take place, the constant pounding of the knees and
The constant ridicule from friends and family who have real jobs.
Run. If they qualify, they have to run again and again and again. So after about 4 or 5 runs, they start to feel it in their muscles.
Any way you slice it, mogul skiing just doesn't seem worth it. All right, before we head out to the break, I think it's time for a little Mike Lund DYC.
Just the facts. Do you care?
Do you care that in 1978, ski ballet competitor Mike Lund tried to smuggle 37 tons of marijuana into the country? Do you care that when the Coast Guard raided the ship, Lund escaped, leaving behind 2 former wives and 4 children? Do you care that for 23 years he lived as Stephen McCain and started a new family? Do you care that he was finally jailed in 2001 during a custody dispute with his 3rd wife when a routine fingerprint check revealed his true identity? That's incredible. I know. How do you get both of his ex-wives to go on a drug smuggling trip together? The man is crafty, and considering what he was smuggling, that seems like a lot of initiative for the guy. Maybe that's his gimmick.
Up next on Cheap Seats.
Reservoir Dogs 2, Behind the Eight Ball, starring these waiters. Hey, welcome back to Cheap Seats. Now we've come to our final gimmick sport of the show, trick shot billiards. It's the kind of flashy showboating billiards you find on playgrounds in cities all across America. Let's get snookery, shall we?
There's Steve Davis of England and Terry...
Reservoir Dogs 2, Behind the Eight Ball, starring these waiters. Jeff, could you turn those back lights on? No, the other switch. Yes, thank you.
World champion Peter Francisco of South Africa and Cliff Thorburn of Canada.
Okay, now, Jeff, we need that smoke going. We need it while they're walking through the... Jeff, what are you doing? Oh, no. He doesn't know how to work it.
And jump the cue ball about 2 feet up in the air.
Crowd's pretty quiet. It's a trick crowd.
Come over, okay? And at the same time...
This guy's doing a lot of pre-shot talking. Who does he think he is, Scotty Nguyen?
Cue ball in the air, okay? If I don't catch it, you catch it, okay?
I think it'd be better to do this without all the explaining. That way, no matter what happens, you could be like, yeah, nailed it, baby. Yes, and no.
Well, sorry.
Didn't want the red to go down.
Ah, yes, South Africa, the only logical choice for a trick shot competition.
Get 3 strikes.
So Mike will try it again. See if the black can go down.
Something tells me this guy's actually pretty good at hitting the 8-ball in.
This time it does. Bingo.
Is this being shown live? They couldn't have just shown the second attempt? It's called editing, people. And the dais from Morley Safer's Celebrity Roast is livid.
So time beginning to run out for Mike Massey.
Wait, there's a shot clock?
This shot, I'm going to play the red ball.
A little product placement? I don't know how much the very fine people want to be associated with Massey. He's pretty very not fine.
On the ball.
This should be easy. Did they make a deal to use the Survivor set after hours?
Didn't quite work in practice.
Very fine orange juice. It too misses the mark. Often.
One more.
If you look closely at the reflection, you can actually see Massey's shame.
Will be second time lucky for Mike Massey. No.
All right. Anybody else uncomfortable?
One more time.
Just stop, okay?
Should have used Coca-Cola ball.
Third time lucky, perhaps?
Yeah, tell that to Smarty Jones.
There goes the
Oh,
gong.
Mike Massey gets gonged by J.P. Morgan. J.P., why'd you gong him? I didn't like his balls flying all over the table. Not a strict dress code in Sun City.
Before that gong went off.
Will you now please welcome the man in front of
Wow, Tom Jones has really fallen off.
6 times world champion, Steve Davis.
Davis
Who does he think he is, Dean Martin? Well, that is apple juice, so image is everything.
Facing Mike Massey's 69. Davis with 30 already.
Ask G's with the setup. Are you allowed to drink and shoot? Works for Martin Lawrence.
Back in the late 70s.
It's true that I'm ugly. I am ugly. I did it. Your mum used to drink me.
For the love of God, turn on his microphone. He won't put the drink down. What is he, a stand-up comic?
My wife on our first night out together, she put a paper bag over her head. I said, "What's that for?" She said, "Just in case yours splits."
Apparently he is. He's the drunkest comic standing.
A lot of women did find me very unattractive. Then I started making a few million rand and everything seemed to change.
This guy's a notch below a street performer. Still, I can't wait to see him juggle a cue ball, a chainsaw, and an apple.
Surrounded by reds that I've placed there in a random order.
Oh, British Rick Neuheisel, you're hilarious.
So I put the black ball in the middle pocket. So it's the black ball in that middle pocket there. Yeah.
She goes.
Did he make it? He's acting like he did. Oh, I just got the paper bag wife joke. Brilliant.
This middle pocket there, where do you think?
Or the side pocket, as it's also known by everyone in the world who plays pool. Well, that completes our romp through the world of gimmick sports. And I think we've come away with a few important lessons. Number one, our prisons, while terribly overcrowded, are not lacking for quality entertainment. Number two, skiing and dancing don't mix, not even with fancy editing. And number three, drinking and playing pool will always give you the confidence to tell bad jokes. Okay, now it's time to give out the awards that former Indiana Pacers center Steve Stepanovich has himself called a gimmick. That's right, it's cheapy time. Cheapy for the best sport? I'm gonna go with auto crash racing. It wasn't in the show, but it sounded pretty dope. Interesting. I'm gonna go with this prison guard. He seemed to take the joke pretty well. Cheapy for worst performance? I'm gonna go with Guinea Fuller. The spill was bad, but even worse was her post-spill celebration. Wow. I gotta go with Cosell and his water gag. Again, it wasn't so much the spill, but more his post-spill antics. And finally, to answer the question of whether or not our gimmick sports are making us weaker than the Russians, the answer is no. It's not the gimmick sport that puts us behind the Ruskies, but it's our nation's obsession with this gimmick. All right there, DJ Tricky. We'll see you next time on Cheap Seats. Let's go. See my dance moves? I did see a dance move.
I broke it off a little.
What? Oh, wait a second. Bring it. And whoa. Now, don't break anything and bring it back this way.
I can't.
What? Against the wind. Wow.